Space Funeral is an RPG made in RPG Maker 2003, created by the Catamites, and released in 2010. It's also a very odd and enjoyable game, and I will be reviewing it today. Space Funeral follows a silent boy named Philip and his companion Leghorse as they explore the land and attempt to stop the evil moon to restore the world to its original state. The incredibly odd art style you can see in the footage here is actually explained canonically as being from the aforementioned moon, who changed the world from its mysterious original appearance into the nightmarish one present now. All of this is resolved later on in the game, but I won't spoil it, as the twist at the end of the game is very effective. The plot is simple, but also very effective. There are some plot threads that are left a bit ambiguous, but I think overall it works in the game's favor. The only real character in the game with a modicum of development and personality is Leghorse, but his personality is so entertaining and the game is so short that it doesn't really bother me. The game is theoretically about stopping Moon, but the majority of the game ping-pongs between different objectives, with it only even mentioning Moon for the first time like 2/3 of the way through the game. Most of the game is just exploring strange areas and interacting with very odd, obtuse NPCs. Some of the best exchanges come from just talking to the townspeople, so I highly recommend interacting with all of them. The general tone of the game is also quite odd. It starts out appearing like a black comedy horror game, but by the time you reach the game's third area, the desert town Malice, it basically completely drops the facade of it being a horror game and becomes a quite lighthearted parody of old RPGs. The horror aesthetic gets brought back a bit later on, but not all too heavily. So if you're going into this for an RPG Maker horror game, you're likely not in luck. If you just want some stupid absurdist humor though, this is absolutely the game for you. Moving on to the gameplay, Space Funeral is an RPG. Not much to say otherwise. The battle system is quite bare bones and easy. One unique attribute of the battle system is the mystery skill. You can only use it once per battle, but when you do, the game selects from a pool of about 5 possible options depending on the battle you're in. These options usually indicate either Philip or the enemy doing some strange or ridiculous action, which either helps, hurts, or does nothing. I highly recommend using it frequently, as the results are both hilarious and often quite helpful. Unfortunately, besides that, the game is ridiculously easy. The creator clearly did not care at all about balancing the game, as nearly every enemy dies in a few hits and there's almost never a risk of death, or any strategy that needs to be put in. This is a surprisingly common theme with older RPG Maker games, as Off has a very similar issue. This is not a big deal though. The game takes like 45 minutes to beat if you're going through it slowly, and the battles take up like a fourth of that time. So despite being very easy, they're not at all a big deal or all too annoying, and in my opinion, don't really take away from the game's quality much. The art in the game, as previously mentioned, is very strange. Most of the characters and scenery are malformed, grotesque abominations. While some people find the art ugly, I think it's fitting and makes the game even more interesting. I think if the game didn't look like this, it likely wouldn't have garnered all the attention it has. Another very odd yet fitting component of the game is the music. It contains no original music, with all of it being pulled from various obscure sources. Despite the range, the music meshes together surprisingly well. The music comes from such wide sources as 70s pop rock albums, late 60s synth experimentation, Japanese noise rock, and early 20s organ solos, which is what you're hearing right now. It adds to the already very strange atmosphere produced by the dialogue and art, and makes the game feel even more unique than it already was. Plus, it's what introduced me to the BBC Radiophonic Workshop and Ruth White, so that's always a plus. You should listen to those artists. In conclusion, Space Funeral is a great game. The combat is pretty weak, but apart from that, it's one of the most unique and enjoyable games I've ever played. It's also completely free and takes like 40 minutes to beat, so if you enjoy weird RPGs and somehow have not played this one, I highly recommend it. Thanks for watching this, and bye.